I am really not comfortable, I guess, yet with storytelling in this way. It feels really awkward. And especially this story feels like more like my own damn business than anything else. But I have been pushed to share this, and I'm just tired of being pushed, And so we're just going to put this out there so that the pushing stops. This recent push for this very specific thing has been very gentle. Just a little nudge here and there in visions and audibles from ancestors. But the last 5 months have been anything but. Since June, I have been forced to live an undefended life beyond my own or anybody else's ideas of what that might mean. It's one of the reasons why I've held it close. That and the backstory is like, while this has been happening, and many, many months before that, there's just been repeated messaging and visions and that my life is in danger. So often that I've come to call all of that noise crying wolf, and I've just attempted to brain fart everything. Because the other focus of this undefended life is what I'm getting ready to share. And I feel like I need to preface what's coming with this. Just to address what I said earlier, I have not thought my life or felt my life was in danger since April of 2024. For a number of reasons that culminated in an encounter with federal law enforcement that ultimately confirmed what I and other people just knew. And by April of last year, I was just ready to make myself a target, and actually attempted to, because I was just done with the whole idea. But for reasons that I may never know, the targeted did not meet the targeter, whom I call the shit ass. And I also need to say that for many, 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 many years, far beyond the fuckery, I have known that I'm never going to know safety in the way that others generally do and take for granted. There's a much longer story about that, but essentially, I'm just wired a little differently. It's one of the reasons I am perfectly comfortable walking into the fire. I'm more comfortable walking into the fire than I am going in the opposite direction. It used to make my then husband bonzo when I would call dispatch to report shooting and then walk closer to it to tell them where it was, right? And it also feels important to add that when all of this, whatever, we don't know what we're calling it, began for me in 2007-ish, 8-ish, I trusted. I didn't know what it was that I trusted. And hell, it may not have actually been trust. I don't know. I just gave myself over to whatever it was because there was no other way to be. There was nothing within me, nothing that could say no, nothing that could consider no. I hollered, I can't, more than once. Hollered. But there was nothing to say I won't. I never said I won't. And I've written chapters on what it was like to just know, flying in the face of all reason, flying in the face of fear of other people's judgment, of repeated abandonment, to just know with every fiber of my being that I couldn't not participate in what was unfolding in my world. What was unfolding in my world, what was unfolding through and around me. For the most part, I didn't even try to counter it. I cried a lot, I cursed a lot, I screamed a lot, I begged a lot, I prayed a lot. But I kept on because I couldn't not. But more recently, since I heard very clearly back in November of 2023, wait for God, I have been trying to do all of the things in the right way, in the right practical lived world, and also in the spiritual world, right? Ultimately, I ended up giving up the healing work because I couldn't fight for it anymore, despite it being my heart's call and the only real connection I have ever known to love. I ended up for a time, or a season as someone else called it, walking away from the missing and murdered Indigenous women's work. I put my head down and I plodded through to just keep a paycheck coming. And I pushed my body repeatedly past the breaking point, and every time it would break, it would take longer and longer to recover, because I could see no other way to do things like pay the rent, keep myself in toilet paper and the medicine, the life things. And at the end of this past May, I finally broke myself again over Memorial Day weekend, or I actually came close enough to that I knew I wouldn't recover if I went any further doing something the right way. The short version is that I'd lost a handful of hair on Monday, literally a handful of hair on Friday, and by Monday I knew I was not willing to do that again. And y'all, I started working when I was 12. And I have never, ever quit without notice until the Monday after Memorial Day. I did so kindly, but gave no notice and no reason, without guilt, without shame, without anger, and in the moment, there wasn't even any fear. I didn't even consider in the moment how it would all work out. I just knew that I wasn't willing to lose another handful of hair like that ever again. And then, holy shit, it hit. How the fuck is this gonna work? And my mind was like, oh my God, how do we fix it? Nobody's buying paintings. How do we get them to buy paintings? No one wants the healing work. Should we just push some more healing work? Despite Jesus's admonition back in February of, well, this is your job. And I was like, well, how do I do that? Like, the feds aren't paying for me to do this other work, right? They're not even listening to me. And it was one of those things where I was like, oh, so that's how I've been creating a sense of safety. The only way I know. A steady income from a job. There was nothing dramatic about it. There was nothing not normal about it. There was everything regular about doing the thing that everybody else is doing, because the thing has to be done. And the literal rules, as they're written, say I have to do the thing. And then all of a sudden, I'm not doing the thing. And there's nothing in me that can argue except when I did. Like, every single time I tried to fix it, right? I'm going to look for a job, or I'm going to find a way to create the way to play by the rules of all of the games here, like the housing game here, and all of this stuff, and everything within and around me just knew not to do it. Look, I would try to apply for a job or even look for jobs, and all of these internal energies would respond with, you haven't learned yet, have you? And I'm like, what do you mean? I got to do the things. But one of the things that I do on occasion is I go back through all my old notebooks to see what I've missed, what connects to current times. And lo and behold, a couple of days ago, I read a message I'd received back in 2022. Learn to live a life undefended. I'm pretty sure the messenger then was Lucille Clifton, who I adore and is in my world. But I didn't know what she meant. I didn't even know what she meant when she had said previously, just live life, Ingrid. I'm like, wasn't I already living life? Like, duh, as one does. So when it was complicated with an undefended, I was like, I'm sorry. Especially even then, I was living in a place where the repeated messaging heard even by the person I was living with was, do not say your name. Do not say your name in the neighborhood, with the implication that a particular neighbor, knowing my name, created physical danger. Super. But just live an undefended life when everything lines up in defense, right? Like, so complicated. However, at the beginning of this June, it was not complicated. I was just being forced into the life undefended. Not gently. I was pushed, I was pulled, I was dragged. I was dragged cursing, and I was commanded while I was cursing into a state of compliance with God, because there's only one way to step into the space where only love lives. Someone wiser than me popped in kindly informing me that this is because love and fear cannot exist in the same place. And I was like, but what do you mean? Because I got to make it work. And he said, here's how I can help. Because he believes, because he can feel beyond my own sense of purpose and the definitions I give around it, that there's a truth to me, even if neither of us can fully explain. And so trust has been repeated as much as create. Except it's not meant in that sense of creating a sense of surety, some sort of guarantee of the known future, that either I have to do it or something somewhere else somehow has got me. Like, I'm literally told, do not try to manipulate me. Do not limit me. You cannot imagine how this unfolds. And when I get butt-faced, it's a don't force. Allow. Let the resources come to you. Don't push. And a freaking universal stop sign will show up in visions when because I'm just going to make some suggestions to God, right? Because I'm kind of handy like that. Okay, how about a fundraiser? Why don't I just get like a part-time thing? What if I advertise paintings? What if I advertise the healing and teaching work? Because why not? And one of the admonitions as a way to break out of poverty-induced and make it all work behavioral systems that I've set up around myself is this: stop doing the math with the stop sign. We've all done this, where you're constantly doing the math to make sure there's always enough. It's for me, it's been a years long habit. Except when I had the really good paying jobs where there was plenty. But if I've got X and I spend Y, then Z, it's what's left. It's like personal algebra, right? Trust in what you can't see has been said repeatedly, like 6 different ways to Sunday for months since last February. Trust, trust, trust. And then yesterday it showed up again. So I went on this huge, exhausting hike and it was amazing. But I had a limited amount of money available, and what was in my head was the math. The math is, here is what I've got, here is what I need to do to make this last X number of days, right? Do not think of tomorrow. Tomorrow is not your business. Like, what do you mean? It's not my business. And then he added pleasure. Get what brings pleasure. But I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, but I'm out of toilet paper. And so there's the universal eye roll, right? Then there's, I at least need to get a bag of salad for tomorrow. Something relatively healthy, right? And there was no like eyeball roll in that response, but the response was focus on pleasure today, right here, right now. But like, what? Because who does that? So the short version ends with me getting a Marie Callender key lime pie that not coincidentally provides pleasure for a couple of days, because why not? And today I just looked at that last roll of toilet paper and I raised my eyebrow and I'm like, so how's this gonna work out exactly? Because and I'm reminded that that's my concern. I've got bigger concerns that are not to be hemmed in by creating any, at all, ever sense of surety or any idea of safety that I think I need. Y'all, this trusting thing is a wild ass ride. Giving oneself over to anything imaginable, feasible, any human need or desire, it's a lot. It's like this minute by minute, sometimes breath by shaky breath process that's like, okay. And I know that there's a reason why I cannot see, even when I go back through the word undistilled by my arguing and demands for partnership and pleas for dignity and my humorous but not humorous, I'm not the boss of me's. And it's crazy. And it's, I don't know, I guess I'm called to lose my mind, to allow all of me to be subsumed, to open my mouth this way or to let my fingertips fly and speak the unspeakable outside of the 99 ways that folks are comfortable talking about or with the God thing. And so lately, this call to share this direction, to tell the personal story, to tell the unfolding beyond the normal ideas of the spiritual and the limitations we give, bless our little hearts, to creations and to God's expression. For me to not seek the perfect, to not remain silent, to not defend myself in any fashion. And I was thinking about this today, that I'd never really considered it that way, this speaking the story this way, of being defensive. I mean, I've had glimpses of why bother, with all of the reasons around that. But I've not thought that this choice to not share as a defensive move, at least not recently. I did in the past, like I used to have gobs of videos up. all about the healing work and yada blah. But when I posted back in 2021 about getting swatted by the perpetrators of MMIW, I started getting all of these gross, they eat their babies for their spiritual powers type of messaging. And I didn't want that kind of energy in my spaces. So in my baby out with the bathwater fashion, I just took it all down and gave it all up. And being pushed back into this kind of sharing, though, despite my ick factor around it, feels oddly right. Even though I'm consciously aware of all of the noise and not wanting to add to it. How this lack of engagement just fuels more loneliness. Like, I don't know. Life is just weird, I guess, because here we are. I'm doing the thing. I'm doing the thing undefended, knowing that there is no opposite within me to counter the love beyond that which we create, that I created. And y'all, it was only as I typed that for this script, an hour or so, where I was like, this horseshit moment of seeing the global personally. And that one of the things that I'm brought to teach others into my own way of being. Yeah. So y'all, this is wild. And apparently life is just weird. And here we are. We've got pie on the counter, the last roll of toilet paper, and something that looks like trust. And not thinking about what tomorrow is going to look like or should look like. 2 nights ago in Dreamtime, Our Lady of Guadalupe and all of her lavender glory reminded me that someone else has the ice cream taken care of. It's an ice cream thing. I'll tell you later. The peace, though, is free to have. It's all yours. So I'm in this process of watching as room for peace and curiosity and faith expands to hold only love. And in that is less room for not saying more or not saying no, and more space for saying yes. Let's. Peace and kids. That's all I got. Till next time. I love you. Bye.